On Fan Cred with Ty Anderson. That's me. And Pete Blackburn is joining me. There's also a cat behind me scratching at the window. Reminder, you can join us face-to-face anytime by hitting the fan line button at the top right of your screen. We want to talk to you. We want to hear about how awesome Tuukka Rask is and how Torrey Krug is the greatest defenseman of all time. No Mike Felger tonight, thank God, so we'll welcome those calls whenever you'd like. Here we have the Bruins and the Devils here, third period. Pete, what are your thoughts on this game so far?
I mean, that top line, man, that set play off the faceoff was one of the most beautiful plays of the season. Unbelievable.
And I think, I said this on Twitter, and I fully believe this.
Oh, all right.
There we go. All right. Danton Heinen, another player that gets a lot of grief that I don't think deserves it.
No, definitely not. I mean, he's one of those players that I think has to be not like playing above his pay grade. Like if he's your third liner, if he's, maybe, second liner, fine. But like he is what he is. And I think that he's on this team at full strength. He belongs where he is. He belongs on this team.
Yeah.
And can contribute.
And I mean, are you going to punish him because that line has been garbage because it didn't have a center for half the year? That seems weird to me.
Yeah.
But look at
I don't know why.
Block. Look at this block there. I think he just – you get an assist for that? He should get an assist for that.
I think so. If you it's just like if you're pointing fingers on this team, is Danton Heinen really a guy that you're picking out?
No, and you're gonna point at him versus pointing at John Moore. Not to say Moore's been bad, but John Moore, David Backes, there are guys that are making real money that aren't producing the way that you expected them to or paid them to, in my opinion. And Danton Heinen, he's still 23 years old. He doesn't drive a line yet. Right. Why is that a big deal? I don't know why it's a big deal. You need to develop him more and get him going. So,
well, I feel like with like young players like him, the expectation is always like, oh, he's got to be a stud or else he sucks. Get him out of the lineup. Like, I don't know why that mentality exists, but like it's fine for him to be in the lineup and be a bottom six guy.
Oh, exactly.
And contribute, especially at his price tag. Like he's a guy that you want.
No, definitely. And then you're talking about, too, I think that, I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, a team needs a third liner. And that's right. Absolutely 100% true. To your point, it's like, okay, did you hate Kelly and Peverly when they were here on the third line? No, because they were great third liners. And I think Heinen is a great third liner. And if anything, the fact that he's, quote unquote, sucked this year should kind of help you, right? It should alleviate some of your cap problems. He's not going to cost you $4 million. He might cost you $3 million. So I don't get the hate for him. I never will. But I guess I never get a lot of the hate that the Bruins Twitter and the internet seems to have for a lot of these players.
When's his ELC up?
This summer. Okay. So this summer they have Carlo, McAvoy, and Heinen. And then next summer they have DeBrusk. The DeBrusk slide that they were able to do in the year one is so big for this team right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was looking like for a while that DeBrusk's number may possibly come down, but man, after a slow start, that kid's unbelievable.
Oh, he's fantastic, and he's one of those players that I think people needed to be patient with. Like that first year, he was in Providence for the entire year, and everyone's freaking out because everyone else is playing so much better in the NHL or whatever. But if you watched him, you saw the skills, you saw like the tools there. I mean, I think he's going to be really, really good. And this sounds weird to say when he's so young and this team has so many other pieces above him. He's the kind of player that I could really see being a captain of this team someday. I really could. The way he carries himself, the way his personality kind of is, I could see him being a captain for this team. Maybe once Bergeron's done.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to go that far, but he's definitely a spark plug, even at his young age. Like he's a guy I feel like is a big morale guy.
Yeah.
He's got to be super well liked. Like I've never met the guy or anything. And I'm not in the room like you are, but I would assume that he's a super well liked guy.
Yeah. I think, your locker room needs guys like that, right? They need guys.
Man,
he's unbelievable. David Pastrnak, I mean, talk about not realizing what you had until he's back in the lineup. Like, yeah. He's just, the way he moves and what he creates is unbelievable. But no, again, I think DeBrusk is a little like David Pastrnak in the sense that they both have that personality that's infectious and people want to be around.
Right. And that did you see Civ's take on DeBrusque that she thinks that DeBrusque eventually will be better than Barzal.
I can. It all depends, like in what context. If we're talking points, he's always going to beat him there. But if we're talking like impact for a legit cup contending sort of team, I can almost see that because he's so damn clutch. You saw last year in the Toronto series, he scored some big goals for that team, man. So I can almost see it, but it depends.
You got to see what Barzal is going to do for the Islanders when the games mean anything.
Exactly.
He could be clutch as well.
Yeah, no, and it's true. I think I want to see the Islanders when they have the complete sort of picture too. I love that pick when they got Wahlstrom, and that's a great pick for them. So
I like both their picks. They got Wahlstrom and they got a defenseman, the big defenseman.
Was it Dobson? No, was it?
I think it was Dobson. Noah Dobson. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I think they got him as well.
Yeah. Let's get a Pastrnak take. JB says, let's get a Pastrnak take here. How comfortable are people feeling right now?
I mean, this certainly helps. He looks like he's able to shoot and looks like he's able to, stick handle. So that was my biggest concern with it, especially with a hand injury. Like when it came down that it was a hand injury, like those seem to be the ones that, you feel like you can get back in the lineup, but you get back in the lineup and you realize that you just like are not the same player. You're basically like handicapped and limited in what you can do. So, I mean, it's certainly positive that he's playing well now.
Absolutely. We got Tommy and Braintree is ready on the fan line. We can pull him up.
What up?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Hey Tommy, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Curious on your thoughts on Connor Clifton and this kind of second stint up, and is he a guy that could continue to develop into a more regular NHL player and force them to make a hard decision on a blue liner over the offseason?
So I wonder if it's really going to be, he's replacing someone per se. I think he replaces Kevin Miller personally because Miller's going to be 32 or 33 at the end of his current contract. Typically, those guys, they're great while you got them, but you don't want to lock yourself in beyond that age, in my opinion. So I could see him replacing him. I still want to see more, but Clifton is a player, man. He plays where this league is headed. He's physical. He's fast. He takes chances. I think that's where this game is headed, and that's where Bruce Cassidy sort of really likes his game, if you will. So I can see it. I don't know if it's going to be this offseason, but maybe another year in Providence where he's a tweener, kind of like what he's done this year. But I could definitely see it happening.
Yeah, I don't know if he's going to be the guy that forces another guy out of the lineup, but he's definitely – I feel like he can definitely be a depth guy that is worth keeping around.
Yeah, I think that's the big thing, right? Like if you're moving on from – let's say Seattle expansion happens and they take John Moore. Clifton now slides in and is he your seventh best defenseman? Again, we're projecting a few years away here, I know, but that's his opportunity, in my opinion, because he's a right side defenseman, and you look at their right side, and it's Carlo and McAvoy. So who's that third guy? I think that's always going to be a rotating, member of this roster, this organization. So who is that? And, it's right now it's Miller and Clifton. So there is an opportunity there for him down the road.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Sweet. So here we have a defensive zone face-off. What do you think of Charlie Coyle playing with DeBrusque and Krejci right now?
I'd preferably want to see him on the third line, centering the third line. Like I think you're going to need that depth and that secondary spark. Especially with the way that he plays too, where he's physical and just a guy who seems to do, even if he's not putting up the points on the stat sheet, like just a guy who does a lot that doesn't show up on the stat sheet in terms of that's what I want to see in the playoffs. Like you need those guys. You need a good third line in the playoffs. And I don't know if you have enough behind the top six to really play with a contender in the postseason. So, I mean, it's fine for now, but I eventually want to see him get pushed back down.
Yeah, I would agree with that in the sense because I think you look at Toronto, right? You're talking about Matthews, Tavares, and Kadri. Like that's their 1 through 3. That's a hard center matchup for this team.
Kadri's gonna run all over you if you don't have something at 3C.
Exactly. And right now, like, I love Sean Corrali. What he does for this team, he's energetic. I love what Cassie called him a sled dog, which I thought is a perfect way to describe him. But I don't know if I want him playing 16 minutes a night, against Nazem Kadri or John Tavares or Austin Matthews, if they're on the road and that's the matchup. So I want Coyle there because that makes sense for them. That makes sense for this team, in my opinion. So I'm with you there. It's a matter of who is Coyle playing with. Is it Heinen? Is it Johansson? How do the rest of the wings shake out there? Because I think clearly you need to give Coyle some more help. I don't know if Nordstrom and Backus is a great line for him. They need a little offensive pop there.
I don't know if that's a great line for anybody.
No, it's not. And I wonder which of those guys is sitting come game one, because one of them has to sit if this team is healthy.
Yeah, and I wonder, but man, it's pretty bad optics. And I know you can't really consider optics as a high priority, but man, is it such bad optics if you have David Backus sit?
I know, but what are you going to do? You give him every chance in the world to contribute. And I mean, now he's fighting. That's what he's fighting.
Oh, man.
He's going to add value. Great. Like,
dude, that's so scary too, given like his concussion history. The fact that he feels like he needs to fight every night to stay in the lineup.
Oh, and it's just
so dangerous.
And it's just like, not only that, like, not for nothing, he's not a great fighter. Like,
he's not, man.
Like, I don't want to see him doing this. This is dangerous for everybody involved right now. He's not good at this.
That's why he keeps getting fights, because people are like, well, I have a chance against David Backus.
Well, that was so I was watching it when he fought Michael Furland. I was like, oh no, this is bad, because Furland throws some bombs, man. When I saw that, I said, well, this is the end of David Backus, the enforcer. And I don't really think he's fought too much since then, but it's like there are certain guys he goes against, and I'm like, oh man, don't do this. Please don't do this. So I think game one, it depends where it is. If it's home, you can almost get away with putting Backus out there. If it's on the road, which it's not going to be based on the current sort of standings, in my opinion, I think Nordstrom as that valuable penalty killer makes more sense. So I don't know. I don't know if this team has sort of the balls to sit David Backus in a $6 million in game one. It's a hard thing to do.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued as to what the bottom six looks like and how they're deployed in that first round matchup against Toronto.
I mean, I would like to see Johansson with DeBrusk and with Krejci, but Coyle, against what we've been saying here, Coyle has been good with that line. You look at their metrics; they've done everything besides get a goal. So that's an interesting sort of thing to watch there. I want to know what that third line is. Is it a scoring line or a shutdown line? Because that will change, I think, how you do everything else too, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think against Toronto, you're probably going to want more of a shutdown line than a scoring line, just because, again, you're going up against a third line in Toronto they've got pretty good depth, and you've got Kadri running that third line.
Yeah, and running you as well. So you got to keep your head in a swivel there with that guy.
Seriously.
That guy, I mean, we were talking about this before the show started. Are the Maple Leafs one of the most hateable teams in the league?
I mean, I don't think they're like particularly hateable in terms of the players that they have. Like, Kadri is the only real hateable guy that I can think of off the top of my head. Like, they were much more hateable last year. Were they not, with Komarov?
I don't know. There's something about the Maple Leafs having expectations that really bothers me. Like,
yeah, that's like the what surrounds the Maple Leafs. Yeah, that's not the guys on the Maple Leafs.
I don't know. I just dislike them so much. I've never wanted a team to lose more than I want the Maple Leafs to lose. Yes, I know part of that is the media and the fans. But there's just something about this team now they have Tavares. They used to be like, oh, the Maple Leafs, oh, they're always bad. That's great. Now, I have a visceral hatred for them. I'm finding I just don't like them. And Babcock is terrible.
They got so cocky when they got Tavares. They were like, okay, we're on our plan. We've got Dubas. He knows what he's doing. Then they get this superstar, and they're like, okay, it's championship or bust. You gotta walk before you can sprint.
Exactly. And now they're like. And I dislike everything about them. Megan chimes in, besides the Lightning, who are you guys afraid of in the playoffs? Are we scared of the Leafs? I'll give you my answer. No, not afraid of the Maple Leafs. That team cannot defend. Even with Jake Muzzin, they can't defend. Freddie Anderson's going to be terrible in the playoffs. They're going to win that series in 5 or 6 games. Who are you afraid of, Pete?
I am. There's like a shred of fear with the Leafs, just because I think that they have enough firepower to scare you, but they haven't done anything to the Bruins this year that has instilled fear yet. So I will say that I'm not afraid of them yet.
You're afraid of your Twitter mentions if the Maple Leafs win. That's what you're really afraid of. Just
I'm scared for my Twitter mentions. But other than that, I think, Washington's a pretty good team, but I don't think they're necessarily scary. Out west, man, Vegas has been so good since the deadline, and so you're obviously. You got to get to the Cup final before you're meeting any of those teams out west. But I think, if we're just talking in general, Vegas is a really scary team, and I honestly think that they could come out of the West again.
Yeah, Vegas is my pick to win the Stanley Cup. I think they got there last year, and what did they do? They add Paul Stastny, Max Pacioretty, and Mark Stone. I mean, can you really add 3
without subtracting anything? Like I know that they stockpiled assets and stuff, but it's crazy that they were able to add those 3 guys without subtracting anything from their active roster.
I know. It's like, how do you not lose like Alec Tuck, or just somebody like that?
Right. I mean, you do lose like one of the better prospects in the league with Brandstrom, but the fact that they're going for it now, and they've done a really good job of loading up, and also like not loading up on rentals. The fact that they extended Pacioretty and Stone immediately that's pretty impressive.
And you love too that they were able to extend these guys like right away. It's like clearly Vegas is working for this league right now. Like it's absolutely been a huge success right now, and I think the fact that they're going to be a winning product for the foreseeable future is huge for them. And so I would say that in the East, the team that would scare me would be Pittsburgh, because they've played you well this year, in my opinion, and they have the experience, and they're getting hot right now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm never gonna underestimate a team that has Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Chris Letang and like all the pedigree that they have there. But they have too many holes on the blue line for me to be totally scared. Like, I think they're gonna have to run Chris Letang into the ground in the playoffs, and I do think the Bruins are a better team than them.
Almost a Stephen Camphor goal. We would have had to cancel the show right then and there.
Oh man,
that Stephen Camphor and I once had Twitter beef back in like 2010.
Really?
Yes, there was a thing happened with Stephen Camphor where he like made a fake account. This is back before burner accounts were a thing. Or there was a rumor that he made a fake account and was like going at people that criticized him. And when he got traded, I said, or he got benched, something happened. I said, I wonder if Camphor's going to make a new account and yell at all of us again. And he replied to me and said, actually, I'm not. When they acquired him, I'm like, oh man, I wonder if he remembers that. I hope he doesn't. But we haven't had any issues this year, so I don't think he remembers that. But Steve Camphor, the original Kevin Durant of Twitter.
Not quite the same career trajectory.
No, I would say better, if anything, yes, really. Yeah. Have you ever been to the Rock out in Newark?
I have not. Have you?
I covered the NHL draft there in 2013. Great fans, nice fans. Horrible area. It is like the worst. It's like the scariest area I've ever been to cover a game or cover an event.
That's what I heard. I heard that that area is scary, and it's not somewhere that you want to like stay around or hang around any longer than you need to.
No, and I went out one night and I said, I want to get some food. Where should I go? I ended up on a train to New York City because I couldn't find any place that I wanted to sit down and eat food at in Newark, New Jersey.
That's wild.
There's a lot of hotels though. I'll tell you that much. I mean, so I don't know, that will work, I guess. But
what city is it? Newark?
It's in Newark, yeah. Okay. Which, I mean, New Jersey as a whole is kind of weird. Like there's that stretch where there's there's like the Izod Center, and there's like the other arena. There's MetLife. It's like all these arenas are kind of close together almost, but they're just near nothing. It's just swamplands and industrial buildings all around there.
That sounds ideal.
Also smells. The highway just smells bad.
Dude, New Jersey stinks, man. Like it really does. It stinks, and like not even like it literally stinks. I've it's like a place where you stop and use the rest stops, and you walk out of your car, and you're like, ugh, and you just get back, and you're like, I can wait for the next state.
It's true. It's absolutely true. Like when last year there was a stretch where the Bruins, they could have faced either Toronto or New Jersey. And I was like, man, I hope they get Toronto. And everyone's like, why? I'm like, I don't want to drive to New Jersey and have to spend like 3 days there. That sounds awful to me. So I feel that 100%. Speaking of this game right here, Chris Wagner, is he the 7th Player Award winner, or is it somebody else?
I talked about this with Felger. I think that I would give 7th player to I mean, Wagner makes a strong case, but I think I'd give it to Carlo or Krejci because, you know, I wouldn't necessarily like consider either of those guys like 7th players because they're so important to the lineup. But like, as you know, its definition, I think that Carlo and Krejci have been way above expectations and just, you know, massive pieces to the success of this team. Wagner, I think, has just been more of a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I would give my vote because I try to not give this award if I were a voter. I try to give it to a guy who's in the top 6 or top 4 role just because I feel like there are certain expectations, if you will. I would give it to Matt Grzelcyk this year. I think that they've asked him to be a lot of different roles for him, be a shutdown guy, quarterback a power play, be a two-way defenseman. I think he's done a great job this year. So I would give it to him, but I mean, there's no shortage of candidates this year. Chris asks, Tire Pete, what is your favorite city to go to while covering the game?
What favorite city?
Favorite city to go to covering a game, or, you know, road city.
I've never like technically covered the Bruins, but just favorite cities to travel to. Chicago is great. Nashville, unbelievable.
Nashville is unbelievable. Nashville is my God.
I'm still trying to get to that stadium for a game. That arena. I heard it's great. It looks amazing on TV. So I think Nashville and Chicago would probably be up there for me.
I would say my favorite building to cover a game, the Verizon Center, or whatever it's called now in DC. I love where the arena is located. I love going to DC because all the museums are free and I'm poor, which is awesome. So I love that. I will say that Nashville though is an experience, man. Like I had 2 interviews. I had 2 interviews down there before I did any of this to be a Preds beat writer and with the paper down there. And I went on my own to check out the place, check out where it was, and man, what an incredible stadium, incredible atmosphere. And I just love Nashville. You can go anywhere, any time of day, there's live music. I'm not a music guy, but I just love the fact there's live music wherever you go.
Yeah, and one of the best food cities in America. The food in Nashville is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. I would say, yeah, those cities. My least favorite place to go to a game is MSG. MSG, since they did all the renovations, it's not a fun atmosphere. And New York, I don't like New York City. It's too noisy. It's too loud. Every street smells like piss, whether it's animal or human. I don't know. It's a horrible place. So I don't like New York City. So I skip out on those games. But yeah, DC or Nashville. I want to do Vegas next because that just seems like it's going to be unbelievable.
Hey man, maybe you get a chance in June.
I would love that. Speaking selfishly, that is absolutely the Stanley Cup that I would like. Yeah, that'd be great. Anything besides jetting from Boston to Winnipeg sounds like a lot of fun in my opinion.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't say that. Winnipeg, I mean, it might be nice that time of year. It might be like 45 degrees.
You're right.
Mid-June.
Not a lot to do in Winnipeg, I would imagine.
No.
Even when the weather's nice.
So after this game, they got the Florida trip coming up. They got Florida on Saturday. Who cares? They got Tampa Bay on Monday night. If they
It's like twice, don't they?
They do. Once here, which isn't going to matter because like the last game of the year, Tampa's not going to be playing for anything. Right. So this game,
hey, you never know. They still have a chance to play for the all-time record for points.
They could do that. I mean, yeah, that's true.
If they run the table, they might be running some guys out on that last game.
So, but if they can go down to Tampa Bay and win, does that change what you think about this team and what the team can do this year?
I think you have to take it with a grain of salt because, like you said, I mean, Tampa has pretty much locked up everything. So you have to look at the team that they put out there. But it's certainly should serve as somewhat of a test to, you know, what you're going to be going up against. I think that if you're the Bruins, it probably means a whole lot more to you for confidence going into the postseason than it will for Tampa. But I don't think it's going to be necessarily a true test of, you know, I don't think I'm going to, unless they come out and they smoke them, I'm not going to feel a whole lot better about going up against Tampa just because they've been so dominant all year long.
I think I'm the crazy person out here who thinks that in a 7-game series this year, the Bruins could win that. And
I don't think
their chances more than like last year.
Yeah, I think last year was you know, not the Bruins didn't put up as much of a fight as I thought that they could have and should have. I do think that the Bruins have a chance this year. I think they have. How did he not score that?
Well, look at the name on the back, and that was
fair enough. Yeah, no, I think the Bruins have as good a shot as anybody, probably a better shot than anybody in the East to beat Tampa. But I still think Tampa's got a really great team, and you know, I would not pick the Bruins in that matchup.
I just feel like I've lived this before with the Lightning. I've lived this before multiple ways. In fact, with the Lightning, we've seen this before. They're a great team, and something happens in the playoffs, they lose, whatever. But I remember the Boston Bruins in 2008, 2009 having a year in which they went pretty much unchallenged in the regular season. They just steamrolled everybody, and then they faced a Carolina team that wasn't afraid of them in round 2. And it took a little bit. It took overtime. But the Hurricanes bounced the Bruins. That's honestly the most hurtful game of my entire life is Game 7 against Carolina. I was miserable after that game.
What, Scott Walker?
The Scott Walker game, the overtime game with Scott Walker killed me. It just destroyed me as a person for like a good – I felt nothing in 2010 when they blew it to Philly because I was so hurt by the 2009 game. I think that destroyed all emotional feeling in my soul. So I would say this, though. I would say that if you can – actually steal a game in Tampa to begin that series, I would love your chances of beating that team in a 7-game series. I really would.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely benefit by planting a seed of doubt in their mind. But, you know, as far as, you know, just the way teams are constructed, and I don't necessarily buy into this team hasn't done it and they've got like that aura around them where, you know, they're chokers or whatever, because we just saw last year that was the narrative surrounding the Capitals forever and ever and ever. And they had the Penguins. And so, you know, things can change, tides change. And this is a team that has shown all year long, wire to wire, that they're the best team in hockey. So I'm not gonna knock them and disrespect them by just saying that they're chokers.
I think I'm telling you, man, I think there's like a little bit of a button being pushed here by Cassidy with this team where he can really sort of after that game against the Lightning earlier, I think it was like late last month, he said we want to show them that this year's different. And I was like, man, he's got this team believing in that whole like we're the underdog, which they are, but like they're going out there and playing with every shift. So I'm curious to see how he gets this team mentally prepared for that series if they do get there. Because that'd be a whole lot of fun in my opinion. So I don't know. I think this year could be different. I really do for the Bruins in that regard. So we'll see. But that guy right there, Brandon Carlo, I think he's the big piece. They haven't had him yet. Let's see what happens with him.
Yeah, he's huge, and the fact that they were missing him last year, like, when he went down last year, I was just like, you've got those sort of late season injuries where a guy goes down and then you immediately see it flash in front of your eyes that like you're now a team without him for the playoffs is the most devastating thing in the world.
Oh, absolutely. And you knew it too, because you saw the leg
Right.
and you're like, all right.
Yeah. So if Tampa loses again this year, are they like, is that team in trouble? Is that team a team that you need to look at and say, well, maybe they're missing something, whether it's like in the room or like sort of just a competitive sort of whatever gene. Like, this is a team from wire to wire that was dominant. If they can't get it done in the playoffs this year, do you start to worry about what's going on there?
I would say that if they lose this year, if they don't get there this year, they're going to do something stupid. And when I say that, they're going to fire John Cooper, or they're going to trade a good player because they think we have to trade a good player. I think, this would be what, their third or fourth kick at the can where they've come up short with this core, with this group fully developed. This is when something silly would happen. And I think, that would spark the idea of changing coaches, or again, trading you trade an Andre Palat or somebody. You don't trade a Stamkos or a Kucherov, obviously, but you trade like an established member and you see where you can improve. But is that the right move? I don't know. I mean, this is the best division in hockey, in my opinion. The Atlantic Division is the best division when you talk about the top three teams, in my opinion. So it's hard, right? It's the same thing for the Leafs, right? If the Leafs lose in the first round again, you're not going to fire Babcock. Although it would say, well,
you might have a case.
That's what I mean. Like, it's weird. Like, it's an odd division. It's an odd format. So I don't know. But Tampa Bay, if not now, then when? Honestly.
Right. Yeah, I just don't know if you can fire John Cooper after. I mean, everybody knew that Tampa was going to be good. I don't know if anybody thought that Tampa was going to be like potentially historically good. And I know a lot of people are overlooking Cooper for the Jack Adams and stuff like that, just because, again, they have talent and things like that. And it's more, it tends to be the most surprising coach rather than the best coach. But I do think that there is a certain amount of credit that goes to John Cooper for being able to get the best out of this group all year long. And, even exceeding the high expectations that they did have. I will say, I always think that I've thought for a couple of years that Mike Babcock's pretty overrated.
He's very overrated. He's very overrated. So, he hasn't won a playoff series like 5 years.
Yeah. So it's like, if they don't win again, if Toronto falls out of the first round this year, is that conversation being had? Probably.
It's probably being had, I think, next year. Like, if they get off to a slow start or something like that in the regular season. I feel like they're still so invested in him. It's like a 6 or 7 year deal, I think. So, like, it's not like, it's like Julian where there's only a year and a half left. I mean, there's a lot of time left.
Yeah, and a lot of money. And it's just like, it's also, they have an excuse. They have a built-in excuse. If they lose to the Bruins and the Bruins finish ahead of them in the standings, it's like, well, they're the better team.
That's why this format needs to go, man. This format needs to go.
Crazy. It's crazy that you can have a potential top 5 team in the league and they would not have a postseason series at home ice advantage if they get knocked out in the first 2 rounds.
It's nonsense. It's infuriating to me that, like, it made sense. They had good intentions, but it hasn't. The other teams aren't going to do anything about it because they don't care. Like, they're like, oh, you guys are getting knocked out in the first round. We're really sad about that. Nobody cares about getting knocked out.
I think that the Pacific has like just as good a case. I mean, maybe not necessarily just based off the way that the regular season standings are going to finish, but you're going to have a team in the Pacific that was near the top of their division all year long and a really good chance of getting knocked out in the first round by the Golden Knights.
Oh, yeah. We have 2 minutes left in the game. Reminder, you can call in the fan line, the top right corner of your screen, and you can talk with us. We'd love to see your beautiful faces and argue with you about whatever. Bruins looking like they're going to hang on here, but I've seen crazier things in my lifetime, such as Chara missing that. He's usually a lock for those goals there. But, yes, we'd love to talk to you, so definitely hit that fan line and call in. Corey Schneider, Marblehead native, huh?
Doesn't touch the mayor of Walpole.
No, he does not.
He doesn't hold political office in Marlborough.
Since Felger is out, give us you guys long-term projections for Rask. How much longer is he the Bees goalie?
As long as he wants to be. As long as he wants to play like this, man. I'm not rushing him out of town.
No, you don't believe that Tuesday was a fake shutout?
I understand that. Like, he didn't have to make any difficult saves, but like he still didn't let up any goals. How are you going to hold that against him?
They'll find a way. Felger will find a way.
I'll take a fake shutout. A fake shutout still is a shutout.
I can't wait to see Felger next week, and he's going to yell at me about something that didn't even happen. It's going to be my absolute favorite thing. I would say this, that if the Bruins go on a deep run here, or if they don't go on a deep run and Rask posts a 905 or an 890, he has another bad series like he did against Toronto, and there we go. It's 4-1. I think they would entertain the idea of maybe moving on. I don't think they would per se, but I think the discussion grows a little bit because I think they had those thoughts last year, and I think a little bit early this year as well. I don't know when they do it, but I don't know. Right now, it looks like they found the right way to do it. You manage him. He plays 45 to 50 games, and he's good to go for the playoffs. I mean, if he doesn't play well this year in the playoffs, I don't know what more you can do to help him out. I really don't.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good point. I mean, you're not going to win too many series with a goalie posting, in between 905, 910, even 915. You're probably going to run into a hotter goalie than that and find yourself in a little bit of trouble. So I'm not ready to have that conversation until he wasn't great against Toronto last year. He's a bit inconsistent. You're obviously going to want to see more consistency. But I don't know if we're ready to have the conversation of let's, move on or discuss moving on until he warrants it. And I don't think that he has yet.
Yeah, and I also think it's just a bad market for goaltenders. Like in terms of trading a goaltender who did win a Vezina and is a pretty good goaltender in this league. I don't know if you're going to get the right return that really warrants moving on from him, especially now. Right. Like now you are going to be paying $7 million for a middle of the road sort of goaltender.
Right. Like, and who's going to replace him? How are you going to get him? Is he going to be part of the return? Because if he's part of the return, then you're obviously you're going to have to make some sort of swap and take a loss, presumably. And you're going to go out in the free agent market and try to get a guy there because that's where bad goaltending deals happen.
Yeah.
And you get stuck with guys who absolutely suck. Look at what has happened in Philly over the past decade.
Yeah.
Just guy after guy who's just been terrible.
Look at David Backes. All right.
Wow. All right.
There's a dog out there getting adopted tonight, baby. David Backes, man. Listen, I shit on David Backes and I dump on him. I would love to see him sort of get.
I'd love to see him tear it up. Like, it would be great. I think that he's a great guy. But that deal was always bad. And like, I'm not actively rooting against him. I just think that this is what he is. And this is what everybody projected him to be.
Yep, exactly. 6 goals, 70 something games in a year. That's what we were all projected.
Oh, no.
It's true. I mean, it's not what you want. You need more, but if he can contribute as a fourth liner, I'm almost tempted with the idea of putting Wagner on the third line and having your fourth line be Achari, Corrali, and Backes like it was against the Senators in 2017. Because that was a good line for this team, in my opinion. So I think that makes some sense for them.
Hey, man, David Backes has more goals than Riley Nash has points.
Don't talk bad about Riley Nash. Riley Nash is my best friend, okay? You know how much I love Riley Nash? More than anybody, all right? Well, that's it. 5-1 game, Bruins win. We're going to be back on Monday or Wednesday. And people, stay tuned for the next Fan Cred app for the next game we have going on. Last question before we go. Do they have anything in the system at net minus the crap in Providence? Yes. Jeremy Swayman. He's at UMaine. He's going to be really good for this team someday. Believe that. Pete, thank you so much for doing this. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And again, we'll be back on Monday or Wednesday talking about the Bruins. Bruins Lightning on Monday. Bruins Rangers on Wednesday. So we'll see who joins us for that one. Should be 2 great games. Thanks again.